What is up, heroes? This is Midnight Zero, and welcome back to Season 4 of the NCPL. This week, the playoffs. We are going up against Sam, coach of the Northants Ninetales, a really good friend of mine. I'm really pumped for this battle. If you guys remember, during the regular season, Week 2, he was the first team we lost to, and one of, I think, only 2 teams we ended up losing to. And it was a really good, really intense match. And looking at his team again, I'm not going to go over it in the same depth I did last time. I highly encourage you to check out, my previous team builder if you're curious. But he's got really great offense. He's got terrain, electric terrain plus rain weather, and it puts in a ton of work. It's a really strong offensive combo. And since last time, I believe he's made a couple changes. One, he's got Kingdra, he did have Kingdra before. I think he changed it just for that week. And for this time, he's got Diggersby and Blacephalon. I forget what he got rid of. He got rid of Darmanitan. How could I forget Darmanitan? But he's got Diggersby and Blacephalon now, both really, really strong. Why is Diggersby only showing 56 attack? Is it really that? Regardless, it's got huge power, so when you slap a Choice Band on it, Return Earthquake, doing great. Blacephalon is one of the new Ultra Beasts. It's got base 151 special attack, which is absolutely nuts, and base 107 speed. It's really, really frail, but it can definitely hit hard. It's got great offensive stabs in Fire Blast, Shadow Ball, Overheat, or Mind Blown even. So yeah. That aside, he's got a few bulky pivots, and he's got some real hard-hitting mons, both the special and physical side. Really tough to prep for, and last time, I tried basically out-hyper-offensing him. He's got a really fast, really offensive team, and I thought that my bulk just couldn't handle it. Like, I just couldn't tank the hits repeatedly. And so what I tried to do was say, okay, I'll try and use his own offense and his own speed against him, and built for Trick Room hyper offense. And in doing so, I was planning on having really slow mons that were bulkier than his faster but also really strong mons. And as a result, I would be able to knock out his offensive mons with my offensive presence before he could do so with me, because my mons were naturally slower and bulkier and would be able to go first in Trick Room. And it didn't work out. It was a really good match, and Sam played really well. I was a bit frustrated. I didn't understand Sam's thought process at a time, or immediately after, or at certain times. So I couldn't really verify as to whether or not I was getting outplayed, or if I just made a wrong move or something like that. And in talking with Sam afterwards, he prepped really well for me, and he battled really well. He played really well. He was really in it cognitively, and he deserved every bit of that win. So really good stuff to him winning that in the past. And well, my team building approach this time around was a complete 180. I said, you know what, I cannot afford to run anywhere in the middle, right? If I run in the middle, I'm going to slightly get more outbulked, or the bulk that I do bring is not going to be comprehensive enough. It's not going to be a wide enough core to take on all the offense he could bring, and I'm going to leave myself susceptible. So rather than go all the way to hyper offense, I went all the way to really bulky. Not quite stall per se, but really bulky. So let's get into that team. The first mon we've got is All Might himself, Tapu Bulu. You remember first time around, I brought Choice Banded Adamant Tapu Bulu that O-code his Lucario. Really cool stuff, but this time around we're running a max HP, max defense Assault Vest Tapu Bulu. And the rationale here is Tapu Bulu can really tank hits. It's got great natural bulk in addition to Grassy Surge helping out with recovery. It's got Horn Leech to, get some recovery as well. And typing wise, it's pretty good against a lot of his electric types and his water types. And it walls stuff like Kingdra. It takes Life Orb. It takes Specs Ice Beams from Kingdra. It takes Ice Fangs from Adamant Mega Sharpedo. It can afford to tank a lot of these hits and go for Horn Leech afterwards and do massive damage, if not knock out a lot of these mons. Also, Grassy Terrain is really helpful for supporting the rest of the defensive core, both with patching ground type weaknesses and providing extra recovery. So this was an absolute must. Just looking at his team, Jirachi's a bit of a problem. Pelipper, if it's Specs, can be a bit of a problem. Lucario, a lot of these mons we even take one hit from, it can knock out back, right? Like I take a Meteor Mash from Lucario and can knock it out with superpower afterwards. And if I don't want to predict if he brings Salamence, I can always go for something like Nature's Madness. I know Horn Leech is doing half to Blacephalon. The only hits I'm really not taking are Poison Jab from Mega Sharpedo and Sludge Wave from Nihilego. And that's just kind of how it is. Something to be said about Snorlax. that Mon is a problem. That Mon is a problem to deal with. And if he brings Snorlax, one thing I can do with my Bulu is Nature's Madness twice into Woodhammer, and it should knock him out. And that's assuming leftovers and max HP on his end. He would need, I think, like roughly 30 or 40 or 50 defense EVs in addition to being max HP, in addition to running leftovers in order to not get knocked out by that combination. And that's assuming, there are no rocks as well. So yeah, I think that's one way I can handle it. I have other means by which I can handle Snorlax, but it is definitely a problematic mon. He also might not bring it around this time because the first time around, he was super afraid of Pangoro and Mimikyu, so he might prep extra hard for those mons, knowing that I know that he was having a tough time prepping for them. But anyways, next up is going to be Toxapex. Yes, I love the Bulu Pex core, per se. Toxapex, it covers the ice, the bug, the steel type weaknesses, and the poison type weaknesses of Tabubulu, and Bulu's grassy terrain helps coverage with, Toxapex's ground type weakness. I'm running a near max Spadef Toxapex this time around, and that's primarily so that I can, if absolutely necessary, take a hit from some of his electric types, or so that I can take Specs hits from Blacephalon. I think I take 2 Specs Fire Blast and I take 2 Specs Overheats, and I take 2 Specs Shadow Balls from max special attack Blacephalon. And the thing is, I've built a lot of my team over saying, what if he's Specs? What if he's banned? What if he's absolute max damage output he possibly can be? What's my strategy? And if he is choice locked into certain things, I have a lot of immunities on my team that he would need to play around, or I could switch into. I can get reliable recovery using. I can scout. And it's not likely he's going to have every single mon choice lock, so he's not likely to have max damage output for everything, but I'm prepared for it if it is the case. It also helps a lot with Kingdra, with, Dracos and such, even Alolan Raichu. I can set up T-Spikes. That's something I desperately wanted this time around. One T-Spike will be so helpful for whittling away at Tabukoko, Mega Sharpedo, Snorlax, Blacephalon, Galvantula, Raichu, Kingdra, and over time, that's going to matter a lot. One of Sam's weaknesses is that his team can't recover as well. He doesn't have as reliable recovery. Or at least he doesn't really take advantage of it. I think really, Mence gets Roost, Coco gets Roost, Pelipper gets Roost, Jirachi can Wish Pass, but that's really kind of it. Snorlax can run Rest and everything, but I don't think he'll do that if he brings Electric Terrain, because that could be a little bit of a complication. But yeah, one of the ways to beat Sam is to outlast his team, as it gets whittled away by rocks and little bits of chip and poison. And T-Spikes will go a long way in helping to deal with that. So that's why that's there. Scald Burns for his physical attackers and to do some damage. If I feel the need to stay in, it could be rain boosted too. It's not like it's going to do a lot, but it helps. Haze is there specifically for Sharpedo and Snorlax. It could help with Salamence as well, especially if I have grassy terrain up to help with a potential Earthquake. But the real rationale here is Snorlax can run a Curse set, and Curse Lax is really scary. Like, really scary to deal with. But as long as he curses, I can haze before he gets any damage off with those boosts the next turn. So I can reliably haze, recover, haze, scald, etc. And if he gets burnt, even better. And it doesn't matter if he's running Rest, Curse, and then has, maybe Sleep Talk or maybe 1 or 2 moves. And then, of course, depending on which 2 moves those are, the rest of my mons potentially wall his Snorlax. So Snorlax is one of those mons that I can't actually really beat head on. I can't really take it down, but I just don't take my team down as long as I have my defensive core intact. And Toxapex is a huge part of that. The other thing was Mega Sharpedo. If he's not running Psychic Fangs, I take hits from that thing pretty well and can get a haze off. If I force him to Mega Evolve and then take away his speed boosts, that helps out so much with the rest of the team and makes it so much less of a threat. So, wanted to at least have that option. Next up is going to be Porygon 2. We're running a mixed Porygon 2, and it's mostly specially defensive. I wanted to run some defense though, at least more defense than last time, because I needed a Mega Sharpedo answer. when that thing is Mega Evolved, it's Adamant, Strong Jaw, typically for the most damage it can do. It doesn't quite 2-hit KO this Porygon 2. I think it does like 44% max or something like that, which means after Stealth Rock, I should be able to live 2 hits. The special defense is there specifically for Specs Blacephalon and all of his other special attackers, including Tapu Koko and everything. So it's really a mixed kind of sponge that if I'm really looking for a mid-ground play, I can always go into Porygon 2, and especially, you know, if he's not Bandit everything, he's not Specs everything, I can be at least find opportunities to recover on most things, and, you know, Grassy Terrain helps out with that a lot too. So that's the rationale there. Analytic is for consistent damage boosts. I don't want to play around with download and special attack or attack raises, and I'm going to be going last. I'm almost always going to be getting that analytic boost, so it helps quite a bit. Tri-Attack and Shadow Ball cover just about everything on his team. Tri-Attack does a lot of damage to most things. It also has the status chance, which is not what I'm going to rely on unless I absolutely have to, but it always helps. Shadow Ball is there specifically for Jirachi and Blacephalon. Toxic is there for what those two don't hit hard enough. Stuff like Pelipper if it's defensive, stuff like Snorlax, stuff like Whimsicott even, depending on its set. And Recover is there for obvious reasons. And yeah, Porygon 2 could definitely be an important sponge. Next up is Gliscor. We're running a very different Gliscor this time around. We have EQ, U-Turn, Roost, Defog, and we're near max speed with max HP. Really bulky set, but not quite as bulky as I usually run. I do think this speed will catch him off guard. You might be wondering why we're running this speed. We actually outspeed Adamant Mega Sharpedo, which is really important because both before and after Mega Evolving, I can scout as to whether or not he's Adamant or Jolly, which drastically affects how I play with my defensive core and which calcs I need to run. And it means that if necessary, I can get at least 50% damage off on Mega Shark with U-Turn or Earthquake and potentially knock it out if it doesn't have speed boost, which might be the case if I force it to switch out or I get rid of its speed boost with something like Toxapex. So yeah, the speed is also there for Lucario. I don't have a lot of great Lucario switch-ins, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to have something that could tank a potential Earthquake from that, a potential Close Combat from that, a potential Meteor Mash, and then live a +1 extreme speed afterwards. I also don't think he'll anticipate my Gliscor being faster than his Lucario, and that should catch him off guard. The 24 attack EVs are actually to guarantee an OHKO on Lucario if it has, I think, 8 extra points in HP, so 32 HP EVs, because without any HP investment, it hits 281, and if he's Life Orb, the next big Life Orb number he's going to want to hit is 289. So if he does have any leftover EVs, I think he would aim for that. So if he has that investment, we still knock him out 100% of the time. With Earthquake, he would need to have a little bit more defense investment to have a chance at living that. And yeah, in general, we do quite a bit of damage to things. We 2-hit KO Jirachi, even if he's pretty bulky, unless he's like, you know, physically defensive bulky. The 1 point of Spadef is actually the difference between living a non-damage boosted Hidden Power Ice from Galvantula and not 100% of the time, so that's important. And the defense is also relatively important for living a couple calcs from Mega Shark. So, oh, and specifically to live, I think, Jolly, Life Orb, Meteor Mash into +1 extreme speed if he has it after rocks. So there you have it. Defog is there because he now has webs. That's just something I should have mentioned. He has Galvantula now, right? But yeah, I don't want to deal with webs a lot, and I definitely don't want to deal with rocks on my side of the team. That will pretty drastically affect my defenses, so I want to get rid of those if I can. This is not a Gliscor that's going to be stalling things out. It's not going to even really have a lot of chances to really recover, but it is going to be able to get some important damage off and get some really important information and counter a couple key mons that are really difficult for my team to deal with. So yeah, that's Gliscor. Next up is Bronzong. You guys are probably like, where is the offense? Bronzong is max Spadef. It's a very similar thought process to last time. You know, on the physical end, its typing just naturally resists a lot of things. Ice Fang, Psychic Fang, Dragon types from, you know, Salamence gets walled by it, right? Fire Blast does like 35% max. It's immune to Earthquake. It resists Dragon, resists Flying. It resists normal types. You know, shout out to Diggersby and Snorlax. And it's immune to their Earthquakes. Yeah, that's really the main deal here. It also resists Ice and Steel, which is important for Bulu. Gyro Ball, his team is generally really fast, so Gyro Ball does quite a bit to most things. And then Earthquake is there for his Steel types. Stealth Rock, because Stealth Rock are going to be really important for chipping away at his team, right? That's my end goal, is to chip away at his team and beat it down that way, rather than actually really offensively take it down and take advantage of the fact that he doesn't have a lot of reliable recovery on his team. So, yeah, that's the rationale there. And Protect. I was thinking about Toxic, I was thinking about Protect. I hopefully get Toxic Spikes up, and Porygon 2 can Toxic most things I deem like I need to Toxic. But Protect is really helpful for the longevity of this thing. Getting an extra turn of leftovers goes a long way for a mon that doesn't have reliable recovery, and I can potentially scout for his Z-moves, and I can potentially let things waste away a little bit more due to Toxic. So that's kind of the rationale. If he does bring, you know, those specs or banned mons that I anticipate might be around, I can always scout. And Bronzong acts as a really interesting point for that. So something like Diggersby comes in, it's kind of worry about Earthquake, Fire Punch, or Return, or potentially Ice Punch on a Gliscor or a Bulu coming in, and I want to reduce the amount of guesswork that I have to do while maximizing the amount of guesswork that Sam has to do, right? So, yeah. And if he does go for some sort of move, and then I can play safely by switching into whatever counters that, if I have Rocks up and I have T-Spikes up, I punish each one of his switches so much more than each of my switches will be punished. So, yeah, that's the rationale there. Last up is Raikou. Yes, finally some offense. It's not a lot, but it is some offense. Running Metronome, I'll get to the item later, but the moveset here is Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Hidden Power Ice, and Substitute. The rationale is I outspeed everything except for Tapu Koko and Whimsicott if it's max speed Whimsicott, but I'm not too worried about Whimsicott. Nor am I too worried about Tapu Koko with Raikou, because I take the hits decently well and I get some good damage off back. And yeah, Hidden Power Ice is there for Diggersby, Salamence, and Whimsicott. Volt Switch is there for Momentum, because Momentum will be really important when you have a I guess, really important defensive core, and mons that are built to, you know, handle certain other mons. And he only has one ground type, so he doesn't really have great electric immunities. So I can pretty freely Volt Switch on his team, which is really nice. I also want to bluff the Scarf. I think it'll be really important if I make him feel like he needs to get speed boost with Sharpedo in order to sweep me. So I definitely want to bluff the Scarf. Thunderbolt, reliable damage, and if you don't know what Metronome does, each turn it does 20%, whatever attack you do, if you do that attack consecutively, it does 20% more damage each time. So it'll over time do more damage, and because I outspeed everything, unless he's got a Scarf Mon, and if I find out he has a Scarf Mon, my defensive core can handle it a lot better. So the more choice locked mons he has, the easier it is for my core to handle it, because I can afford to switch back and forth between things. But yeah, the Substitute is also there so that I can potentially pressure stall things if necessary, but also, more importantly, if he does go for Protect with Sharpedo, I can Substitute, and then I get a guaranteed Thunderbolt off, and probably knock out Sharpedo, or force him to switch into something that will take a Thunderbolt, and then has to take another Thunderbolt, and then I outspeed, so it'll have to take another Thunderbolt. So that's 3 Thunderbolts in a row that are getting progressively stronger. One that's 100%, one that's 120%, and then one that's 140% strength. And, you know, if he's poisoned, rocks are up, right? It's not going to be doing so well. So that's the rationale there. Metronome also doesn't show that I have leftovers or anything like that, so I can bluff Scarf more effectively. So yeah, that's the rationale there. This match is scary. I will say, I'm really nervous going into it. I've been working a lot on my mentality over the past 3 weeks that I've had off, per se, going into this match, and it's helped. I'm looking forward to this match. I'm not worried about like the consequences of losing, in the bigger picture of things, no one's going to think I'm less of a battler for losing to Sam. Nobody's going to give me crap for it. I don't think I'll lose any respect for losing to Sam. And Sam is a good friend of mine and one of the people I look forward to battling every single chance I have. And it'll be fun. I feel like I've gotten closer with Sam over the past few months anyway, so I think that's going to contribute to it. What else? What else is there? I guess this is a tiebreaker of sorts. When it comes to singles play, we're dead even on the number of wins each of us has against each other, which is pretty crazy. He's the only player in League history to have beaten me twice, which is pretty cool. And honestly, I wouldn't have my playoffs any other way. You know, playing Sam is always a blast. And if I make it to the championship, I will feel like I have 100% earned it. And if he makes it to the championship, I'll be happy for him. I'll be frustrated, but at the same time, I'll be happy for him, and I know that he deserves it. And I know that someone qualified will be meeting Manu in the championship because Manu already won his side of the playoff bracket. So, good luck and have fun to Sam. I'm really nervous, but at the same time, it should be a really fun, really high-level battle between good friends, and who could ask for much more than that, right? So, anyways, I'll see you guys in that battle, but until then, this is Midnight Zero, and this mission is complete.